My fiancé Julian is a legendary figure in the Kyoto legal community, having practiced for 10 years without a single defeat, earning the nickname Courtroom Yama. He once held my hand and whispered in my ear, "Vivian, I've seen too much darkness, and you are my only light." But in the blink of an eye, I was falsely imprisoned, and he, acting as the opposing lawyer, personally presented my confession to the court, solely to protect his new intern, Lily. That girl was posting on social media expressing sympathy for me while declaring "I love you" to my fiancé. Watching him distort the truth to defend that pure and kind girl, his eyes filled with coldness and impatience, I suddenly laughed. He probably thought I was still that greenhouse flower who loved him to the point of losing myself. "Julian, since you want to play," I looked at him and said word by word, resoundingly, "then I'll play a big game with you. Defendant Vivian, do you plead guilty?" In the courtroom, the judge's voice was solemn and dignified, broadcasting throughout the hall via the microphone. My gaze, however, was firmly locked on the lawyer at the plaintiff's bench. That was the man I had loved for 10 years, Julian. Today, he wore a well-tailored black suit, and the eyes behind his gold-rimmed glasses, which had once been my starry sea where I drowned countless days and nights, now seemed quenched in ice. Sitting beside him was his client, also our firm's new intern, Lily. Dressed in a white skirt, she looked pitiable, gazing at me with eyes mixed with concern and a hint of hidden triumph. I didn't. I gripped the defendant's railing, my nails almost embedding into the wood. I didn't leak SH Group's trade secrets. That confession was signed under duress after Julian got me drunk last night. As soon as the words left my mouth, the courtroom erupted in uproar. The flashes from the press seats went off like mad. "Order!" Julian's face darkened as he picked up the so-called confession, strode to me in a few steps, and mercilessly threw the document in my face. The edge of the paper scraped my cheek, leaving a stinging pain. "Vivian." His voice was colder than the winter snow outside. "You made the mistake yourself, yet you're splashing dirty water on others? I induced you? Why not say I held a knife to your neck to force you to sign?" He turned around, facing the judge and jury, his voice regaining professional calm and restraint. "Miss Lily has just entered the profession with a bright future ahead. She's pure and kind. How could she do such a thing?" His gaze swept over me, filled with disappointment and contempt. "Vivian, if you ruin her future now, I won't mind making sure you rot in prison." "Pure and kind?" I looked at Lily's face, adorned with teardrops yet unable to hide the smile at the corners of her eyes, my heart feeling as if gripped tightly by a large hand, aching to the point of breathlessness. 10 years of affection, in his words, couldn't compare to a green tea intern he'd known for less than 3 months. The night before the trial, Lily posted on social media, "Although I feel sorry for sister, the bottom line of the law cannot be trampled. I admire teacher's righteousness in upholding justice even against kin. Teacher is the best, love you." Below was Julian's like. At that moment, my last bit of affection for him was completely extinguished. Now, watching him indiscriminately defend that little lover, the last churning pain in my heart strangely subsided. All that remained was cold hatred and utter silence. "Fine, Julian." I held the railing, slowly straightening my body, and smiled at him. "Since you think I did it, then produce the evidence." I lifted my chin, staring directly into his eyes, and said word by word, "But I remind you, you'd better really kill me in one go. Otherwise, everything you've imposed on me today, I'll make you and her repay 1,000-fold. My words caused a flash of astonishment in Julian's eyes, as if he hadn't expected me to be so resolute. But he immediately sneered, the contempt in his eyes intensifying, as if looking at an overreaching clown. He turned, nodded slightly to the judge's bench, and sat back in his place. The trial continued. But my thoughts drifted back to that humiliating night. It was our engagement anniversary. Unusually, he didn't work overtime, personally prepared a table of dishes for me, and opened a bottle of my favorite red wine. I thought this was a sign of him changing his mind. After all, since Lily arrived, we had been in a cold war for too long. I drank a lot, becoming completely intoxicated. I only remember him holding me, gently whispering many words in my ear. Vivian, the SH Group case was handled by you, now there's a problem, and the company needs someone to take responsibility. I know it wasn't you, but now all evidence points to you, and I have no choice. Sign this document first, treat it as an internal investigation, just a procedure, and I'll handle everything for you. I believed him. In a daze, I signed my name. Thinking back now, those gentle words were each wrapped in deadly poison. He is the Yama of the courtroom, a master at manipulating hearts, and I was the most foolish prey. Defendant, do you have anything to add? The judge's voice pulled me back to reality. I scanned the surroundings, seeing those scrutinizing, doubting, gloating gazes, Julian's indifferent face, and Lily's victorious posture. I took a deep breath and clearly stated into the microphone, I request to change my defense lawyer. Furthermore, I apply for a postponement of the trial because I will submit new evidence to prove my innocence. Miss Vivian, to be honest, this case is very difficult. The man sitting across from me was named Ethan. He wore slightly loose casual clothes, his hair a bit messy, with faint dark circles under his eyes, yet he toyed with a long discontinued Zippo lighter covered in scratches, much like himself, exuding a disheveled decadence and a touch of untimely stubbornness. He was Julian's university classmate and the only person Julian had lost to since his debut. After that loss, Ethan went from being an unrivaled rising star in the industry to his current half-dead, laid-back lawyer, surviving on trivial divorce cases. Everyone thought he was finished. But I knew that a wounded wolf only becomes better at tearing out its prey's throat. It's difficult, that's why I sought you out. I pushed a cup of coffee toward him. I know you've always wanted to beat Julian once. Now, the opportunity has come. Ethan lifted his eyelids to glance at me and scoffed, opportunity? Miss Vivian, now all evidence, including your handwritten confession, is against you. Julian is a legend in the circle, you want me to play a royal flush with a bad hand against him? He paused, tapping the lighter on the table, moreover, you're his fiancé, this is just a couple's quarrel, using me as cannon fodder? Ex-fiancé. I corrected him coldly. From the moment he threw that document in my face, we were over. I stared into his eyes and pushed a bank card toward him, there's $1 million in here as my advance payment. If we win, I'll give you another $2 million. Only one requirement, not only prove my innocence, but also make Lily and Julian behind her utterly ruined. Ethan's fingertips stopped on the lighter. He finally looked at me properly, a glint of a hunter spotting prey flashing in his seemingly drowsy eyes. Utterly ruined? Bold words. He leisurely leaned back in his chair. Tell me, what chips do you have? I am the chip. I said. The SH Group project was handled solely by me from start to finish. Every data point, every detail, is etched in my mind. The leaked confidential file has a key data error, one only known to me and the SH Group project leader, deliberately set to prevent insiders. Ethan's eyes lit up, trap data? Yes. I nodded. But the problem is, Julian also knows this data because I once showed him the final version of the file. Ethan's brows furrowed, that means the leaker could be you or Julian. Or, Lily, who got hold of the file from Julian's computer. My voice held no warmth. The office fell into silence. Ethan's slender fingers tapped the table intermittently, as if calculating something. After a long while, he suddenly smiled, this is getting interesting. A courtroom Yama personally sending his fiancée to court for an intern, only to find out he's the fool who invited the wolf in. I like this script. He picked up the bank card, twirled it between his fingers, and pocketed it, I'll take this case. However, Miss Vivian, he stood up, looking down at me, Julian is arrogant and suspicious. For Lily to gain his trust so quickly, even making him go this far, there must be more behind it than just pure and kind. I know. I lowered my eyelids. When Lily first came to the firm, it was as Julian's junior schoolmate. She always timidly followed behind Julian, calling him senior brother repeatedly, her gaze toward him filled with undisguised admiration and affection. This affection greatly satisfied Julian's lofty self-esteem, his love for being looked up to. Julian had a memory anchor, the action of adjusting his tie. Whenever he felt in complete control and complacent, he would subconsciously smooth his tie with his fingertips. During that period, I saw him do this more times than in the past year. And Lily was the one who precisely provided all his emotional value. After he won a case, she would say in the most admiring tone, "Senior brother, you're simply the most amazing lawyer I've ever seen." When he was tired, she would timely offer a cup of warm water, softly saying, "Senior brother, you've worked hard, don't wear yourself out." These details that I once disdained or, after 10 years of love, had become too lazy to do, Lily filled them all in. She was like a meticulously woven net, slowly enveloping Julian like boiling a frog in warm water, making him indulge in it. "I need you to investigate Lily's background." I lifted my head and said to Ethan, "All of it, in every detail." Ethan curled his lip, pocketed the old lighter. "Don't worry, digging up ancestors is my specialty." With that, he turned and left. I knew that my counterattack truly began at this moment. "Julian, aren't you going to protect your pure and kind little intern? I'd like to see what splendid expression you, the courtroom Yama, will have when her true face is unveiled layer by layer." In the following days, Ethan and I practically lived in his office. That small room, piled with case files, became my command center. "Found it." Ethan, sporting 2 huge dark circles, slapped a document in front of me. "Your pure and kind Miss Lily has a resume that's truly clean." I picked up the document and quickly scanned it. Lily graduated from a third-rate university's law department with average grades, yet she could intern at Kyoto's top JC law firm. Her resume had no standout internship experiences. The only noteworthy point was that she had once been a legal assistant at a company called QH Tech. And QH Tech was SH Group's biggest domestic competitor. My heart skipped a beat. "Investigate QH Tech," I said immediately. Ethan snapped his fingers. "Already did. QH Tech's current legal director is named Victor. 5 years ago, in a patent infringement case, Julian personally sent him to prison for 3 years. The clues instantly connected. So, this is all a setup." My voice grew cold. After Victor was released, he harbored resentment, wanting to revenge against Julian and steal SH Group's secrets. So he found Lily, using her as a pawn to approach Julian. And Lily? She agreed for money or to enter JC firm. Ethan added, "This woman is far more ambitious than she appears." He pointed to another page in the document. "Look here, during university, she maliciously spread rumors about a roommate, leading to the latter's depression and dropout, but she only got a demerit because of her good attitude in admitting fault. She has a small scar on the inside of her left wrist, reportedly from an accidental injury when the roommate's brother confronted her." This detail reminded me of something. Once, I accidentally saw Lily crying in the pantry, with Julian comforting her. She said she accidentally scraped her wrist on the corner of a file cabinet. Julian's face changed instantly upon seeing the wound, scolding the administrative department for failing at such a small thing. Thinking back now, she probably deliberately exposed that scar, fabricating a lie to gain Julian's sympathy and protective instinct. She understood Julian too well. She knew that although he was cold outwardly, he had an almost obsessive protective desire, especially toward those he deemed weak. She exploited this, disguising herself as a harmless little white rabbit, then step by step, forcing Julian and me to this point. "Do we have evidence?" I asked. Ethan shook his head. "Victor is cautious. His contacts with Lily are through encrypted software, hard to track. What we have now is just speculation." "Then make it fact." I stared at the document, my mind racing. Since Lily relies on acting, I'll make her unable to continue the performance. For SH Group's project data, every update, I back it up duly on local servers and the cloud. I said. I have a private encrypted USB drive with all original data operation records, including timestamps and IP addresses for each modification. I remember, the day after I sent the final file to Julian, Lily took sick leave. Ethan's eyes suddenly brightened. "You mean Check her whereabouts on the day she took sick leave, and the IP login records for that day. I said calmly. If I'm not wrong, that day, she was using Julian's computer for unspeakable things. Julian's computer, I know the boot password. It's my birthday. This was once our sweetness, now the most ironic weapon. At that moment, I could almost imagine how smug Lily was. Exploiting my trust in Julian, and his indulgence toward her, wreaking havoc in my world. Good. Ethan immediately took out his phone and started calling. I know a very skilled hacker, as long as they've used it, there will be traces. After hanging up, he looked at me with added admiration in his eyes. Vivian, you're calmer than I imagined. I smiled, but there was no warmth in that smile. People forced into desperation either collapse or become a blade. And I chose the latter. The next 2 days were anxious waiting. The second trial date was approaching, and Ethan and I were racing against time. In the afternoon before the trial, Ethan's hacker friend finally sent the message. Ethan looked at the results on the computer screen and whistled sharply, bingo. I leaned over. The screen clearly showed that on the day Lily took sick leave, an IP address belonging to Julian's private residence logged into my cloud server and downloaded the file named SH Group Project Final Version. More crucially, within half an hour after the download, this IP had a prolonged encrypted file transfer with another IP located at QH Tech's headquarters. Ironclad evidence. Now, we can invite Miss Lily into the spotlight. Ethan smiled like a fox that had stolen a treat. My heart, however, wasn't as relieved as expected. Because this evidence, while nailing Lily, also dragged Julian down. Using his private computer to log into my account, steal company secrets, and send them to competitors. Whether intentional or not, informed or not, his career would face utter disaster. Was this the result I wanted? I stared at the familiar IP address on the screen, my mind blank. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. From the other end came an unexpected voice. It was Julian. His voice sounded tired, even with a subtle weakness. Vivian, can we meet? He said. Julian and I met at our once favorite coffee shop. Across the table, looking at this familiar man, I suddenly felt he was somewhat strange. He had lost weight, the bruises under his eyes heavier than Ethan's, his once impeccable hairstyle now messy, gold-rimmed glasses unable to hide the irritability and fatigue between his brows. It seemed these days hadn't been kind to him either. Vivian, do you have to do this? He spoke first, his tone carrying a hint of reproach. Hiring Ethan as your lawyer, do you want the whole of Kyoto to see me as a joke? I picked up the coffee in front of me, took a gentle sip, and said nothing. See him as a joke? I never thought that. I just wanted to survive. Drop the case. Seeing I didn't speak, he softened his tone, even reaching out to hold my hand. Let this case end here. I'll find a way to compensate for the grievances you've suffered. That villa in the east of the city you wanted, I can transfer it to you now. I dodged his hand, finding it somewhat amusing. Did he think his mistakes could be offset with a house? Compensate me? I looked at him and asked softly. Julian, in your heart, my innocence, my reputation, our relationship, are worth just a house? His face darkened. Vivian, don't push your luck. You know Lily didn't do it on purpose, she just wanted to prove herself in front of me too much. So, she can frame me? And you can send me to the defendant's seat with a clear conscience? My voice also cooled. Julian, you play this victim-blaming game so smoothly. How? Learned it from your little white rabbit apprentice. You. Julian was choked speechless, his face ashen. At that moment, a coquettish voice interrupted. Senior brother, I've been looking for you for so long, so you're here. Lily, holding a cup of juice, gracefully walked over, naturally sat beside Julian, deliberately leaning her body toward him, the implication of claiming territory unmistakable. Seeing me, she immediately showed a surprised and guilty expression. Sister, you're here too? Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I was just a bit worried about senior brother. Watching her masterful tea art performance, I almost applauded. Worried about him? I raised an eyebrow. Worried he won't win the case, or worried he'll have a conscience and refuse to perjure for you anymore? Lily's face instantly paled, her eyes reddening, looking aggrieved at Julian, senior brother. I didn't. Julian immediately exploded like a cat whose tail was stepped on. He slammed the table, stood up, pointed at my nose and cursed, "Vivian. Enough. You're malicious yourself, don't think everyone is like you. I know what kind of person Lily is better than you. I warn you, if you dare hurt her again, I absolutely won't let you off." All eyes in the coffee shop were drawn over. I became the aggressive villain. And they were the devoted couple jointly fighting evil forces. What a great show. Watching the furious Julian and Lily hiding behind him with a smug smile, the last bit of lingering thought in my heart broke. I slowly stood up, straightened my clothes, then picked up the scalding coffee on the table and steadily splashed it on Julian's face. Ah! Julian let out a cry of pain. The brown liquid dripped down his handsome face, soaking his expensive white shirt, making him look utterly disheveled. Lily also screamed, fumbling to take out tissues to wipe him. The entire coffee shop fell into dead silence. "Julian, don't you think I'm malicious?" I looked at him coldly, saying word by word, "Then I'll show you malice. See you in court. I hope by then, your name as Courtroom Yama can still hold." With that, I didn't glance at them again, turned, stepped in my high heels, and left this place filled with our 10 years of memories without looking back. At the door, I even heard Lily's tearful voice, "Senior brother, are you okay? It's all my fault, if not for me, sister wouldn't treat you like this." I sneered. "Lily, perform to your heart's content. Your stage is about to collapse soon." I took out my phone and sent Ethan a message. "Plan proceeds as usual. Tomorrow, I want both of them on the defendant's stand." At the second trial, the courtroom was packed. Reporters from major media, legal peers, even some wealthy onlookers came. Everyone wanted to know how the showdown between the Kyoto legal legend and his ex-fiancée would end. Julian had changed into another suit, but it still couldn't hide the weariness on his face. His gaze toward me was as if he wanted to devour me alive. Lily still sat beside him, but her triumph was subdued, replaced by subtle tension. The presiding judge struck the gavel, and the trial began. Julian spoke first again, submitting more evidence to prove my major negligence in the SH Group project, even implying possible self-theft. His words were sharp, logic meticulous, worthy of Courtroom Yama. Anyone else might crumble under his assault. Unfortunately, he faced me. And an Ethan who had long been holding back to take him down. "Objection." Ethan stood up. "All evidence submitted by the plaintiff's lawyer is subjective speculation, with no direct proof of my client's leak. Legally, this doesn't hold. I suspect the plaintiff's lawyer is using his expertise to mislead the jury." Julian's face stiffened. Ethan gave him no chance to rebut, turning to the judge's bench and declaring resoundingly, "Your Honor, I now request permission for my client to submit new evidence." The judge approved. Under everyone's gaze, I walked to the witness stand and handed the small encrypted USB drive to the court staff. This USB contains all file operation records from my handling of the SH Group project, with timestamps precise to the second and login IP addresses for each modification and save. My gaze slowly shifted to Lily, seeing her body tremble almost imperceptibly. According to the records, the final confidential file was logged into and downloaded the day before the leak by a device with IP address XXX.XXX, the day Miss Lily claimed to be sick at home. And this IP address, after our verification. I paused, then clearly stated word by word, belongs exactly to Mr. Julian's private residence. Boom. The entire courtroom exploded. All eyes shot like spotlights toward Julian and Lily. Julian's face turned pale in an instant. He sharply turned his head, staring fixedly at Lily, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. And Lily was completely panicked. She shook her head desperately, grabbing Julian's arm, incoherently defending, "No. It wasn't me. Senior brother, believe me. I was really sick that day, I didn't go anywhere." "Order. Order." The judge pounded the gavel hard. Ethan stepped forward, pressing the flustered Lily step by step. "Miss Lily, no need to be nervous. Whether you were resting at home that day or using lawyer Julian's computer for unspeakable acts, we have another piece of evidence." He gestured to his assistant behind him. The courtroom's large screen immediately displayed a screenshot of file transfer records. "This is data records retrieved from the telecom department." Ethan's voice was particularly clear in the quiet courtroom. "The records show that within half an hour after the file download, the IP from Mr. Julian's home had a 5-minute encrypted file transfer with another IP. And the recipient's IP is located at the headquarters of SH Group's archrival, QH Tech." Ethan's gaze, like a sharp sword, pierced straight into Lily's heart. "Miss Lily, now, do you still want to say this has nothing to do with you?" Lily looked at the ironclad evidence on the screen, the color draining from her face instantly. She was done. All her disguises, all her lies, were torn to shreds at this moment. Her body swayed, almost collapsing to the ground. Julian supported her, but his gaze had shifted from initial protection to cold scrutiny and doubt. He wasn't a fool. When the evidence was presented, he understood better than anyone what it meant. It meant he, Julian, the legend of Kyoto's legal world, had been played for a complete fool. He thought he was protecting a pure and flawless little white flower, but he was actually paving the way for a commercial spy. And the one he personally pushed away and hurt was the only woman who truly loved him, nearly destroyed by him. I saw his hands trembling, storms gathering in his eyes. The real show was just beginning now. "I object. The source of this evidence is unclear, and its legality and authenticity need verification." Julian finally reacted from the shock, standing up immediately in a last-ditch struggle. His voice was slightly distorted from anger and humiliation. Ethan had anticipated this. He calmly produced an authorization document. "Your Honor, this is an appraisal report issued by experts from the National Data Security Center, and the authorization from my client, Miss Vivian, allowing us to retrieve her personal data backups, all procedures fully legal." He looked at Julian, a mocking smile curling his lips. "Lawyer Julian, are you questioning the professionalism of national experts or the procedure of our evidence submission?" Julian was choked speechless, his handsome face turning liver red. He had probably never suffered such humiliation in court. All lights focused on him, those lights that once represented honor and praise now became merciless whips, lashing his face one by one. I. Lily completely broke down, incoherent, tears and snot covering her face, no longer the pitiable figure. "It wasn't me. Really not me. It was Victor. QH Tech's Victor forced me to do this." In desperation, she finally shouted that name. "Oh?" Ethan, like a hunter long waiting, finally saw the prey fall into the trap. "Victor? Miss Lily, you know QH Tech's legal director Victor?" "I don't." Lily realized her mistake and tried to retract, but it was too late. Ethan wouldn't give her the chance. "Miss Lily, according to our investigation, during university, your performance was mediocre, with no outstanding resume, yet you defeated many top school talents to intern at Kyoto's premier JC firm. This seems unreasonable." Ethan paced in front of her, his voice not loud, but each word piercing the heart. "Unless someone paved the way for you. For example, someone eager to revenge against lawyer Julian and needing a pawn to infiltrate JC firm." He stopped in front of Lily, looking down at her. "Miss Lily, 5 years ago, QH Tech's Victor lost to lawyer Julian in a patent case and ended up imprisoned. Does he harbor grudge against lawyer Julian?" "I don't know. Don't ask me." Lily covered her ears, shaking her head frantically. "You really don't know?" Ethan pressed on. "You entered JC firm, deliberately approached Julian, exploited his trust and protective desire, alienated him from his fiancée, then seized the opportunity to steal trade secrets and frame my client. Was all this in you and Victor's plan? No. Lily let out a sharp shriek, her emotions completely out of control. It was him. He promised me that if I got SH Group's plan, he'd make me a partner at JC firm. He said he loved me. He said he'd break up with Vivian and marry me. He lied to me. She suddenly pointed at Julian beside her, her eyes filled with mad hatred. At this moment, she finally revealed her truest, ugliest face. The room fell dead silent. Everyone was stunned by this shocking twist. And Julian, the man accused by Lily, the senior brother who had always protected her, his facial expression could no longer be described as shock. It was complete blankness after the collapse of belief. He looked at the madwoman beside him, her distorted features, ugly grimace, as if seeing her for the first time. Was this his pure and kind? Was this the little white rabbit he protected at the cost of hurting his 10-year love? Irony, immense irony, like a resounding slap, fiercely struck his face. I watched him, from shock to doubt to anger, to current utter despair. In my heart, there was no thrill of revenge. Only a desolate sorrow. Julian, look, this is what you personally chose. For her, you abandoned me and yourself. Are you satisfied now? The trial no longer needed to continue. Under emotional breakdown, Lily confessed to stealing trade secrets, colluding with QH Tech's Victor, and framing me. A trial originally against me turned into a complete farce. And the protagonist of this farce was the man I once loved most. He stood there in the center of the courtroom, under countless gazes of sympathy, mockery, or disdain, like a statue with its soul drained. The myth of courtroom Yama ended completely today. Lily was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for commercial espionage and false accusation, with multiple crimes combined. QH Tech's Victor, for suspected instigation, was handled separately, awaiting severe legal punishment. And I was acquitted. The moment I walked out the court doors, the sunlight stung my eyes. Ethan stood beside me, handing me sunglasses, still in his carefree manner. Miss Vivian, congratulations, your injustice is cleared. Thank you. I said sincerely. Don't thank me, thank yourself. Ethan lit a cigarette, exhaling a smoke ring. You were ruthless and smart enough. He paused, then said, remember to transfer that $2 million to my account. I was amused by him, the gloom of recent days seeming to dissipate somewhat. You won't be shortchanged. I said. As we spoke, urgent footsteps came from behind. Vivian. It was Julian. He caught up, grabbing my wrist. His hand was cold and firm, as if afraid I'd run away. Vivian, I'm sorry. His voice was extremely hoarse, eyes red. I know it's too late for anything now. But please, give me another chance. He tried to pull me into his arms. I'm the bastard. I'm blind. I was deceived by that bitch. Hit me, curse me, anything, just don't ignore me, okay? I smelled the lingering scent of Lily's usual perfume on him, feeling a wave of nausea. I forcefully shook off his hand, stepped back, creating distance. Julian. I looked at him calmly. It's long over between us. The moment you chose to believe Lily and threw that confession in my face, it ended. No. Vivian, that was. I was just momentarily confused. He defended urgently. Momentarily confused? I laughed as if hearing the biggest joke. Julian, who are you? Your courtroom Yama, the top lawyer, your reason and judgment are what you pride most. Would you, due to momentary confusion, fail to distinguish true from false intentions? Fail to tell truth from lie? I stepped toward him, gaze like knives. You weren't confused, you just don't love me anymore. You enjoyed the freshness and admiration Lily brought, you tired of me, this old person after 10 years, unable to provide emotional value anymore. So, when problems arose, you subconsciously chose to sacrifice me to protect your new person. This has nothing to do with confusion, it's just a choice after weighing pros and cons. On your scale, me and our 10 years of affection had long become worthless. Each of my words was like a knife, stabbing fiercely into his heart. His face paled inch by inch. His body swayed unsteadily. No. He wanted to refute but couldn't say a word. Because everything I said was true. He looked at me, eyes filled with pain and despair, the once lofty man now fragile like a child. He reached out, wanting to pull me again, his voice pleading, "Vivian, I was wrong, really wrong. Let's start over, okay? I'll give you all shares in JC firm, I'll give you everything." "I don't need it." I interrupted him. "Julian, from today, I don't want to hear your name or see your face again. Take care of yourself." With that, I didn't look at him anymore, turned, and got into Ethan's car. From the rearview mirror, I saw Julian still standing there, like a puppet abandoned by the world, motionless. That scene should have been satisfying. But my heart was empty, nothing there. Perhaps when love turns to ash, all that's left is endless void. Julian's career was thoroughly over. Although he had no direct crime in this case, his aiding evil, poor judgment, and even slandering his fiancée for a mistress made him a complete laughingstock in Kyoto's legal world. To salvage reputation, JC firm immediately issued a statement terminating partnership with Julian. The once bustling lawyer Julian was now ignored. I heard he sold our once planned wedding house, drank all day, utterly destitute. Once, Ethan told me he saw him in a small bar, bearded and reeking of alcohol, pulling the bartender, repeating over and over, "I was wrong. I'm sorry" to her. Hearing this, my heart had no ripples. Pitiful? Perhaps. But I'll never forget his cold, heartless demeanor in court, as if wanting to put me to death. If he knew today, why bother back then? Some mistakes, once made, require a lifetime to repay. I resigned from JC firm, used the compensation Ethan won for me in the lawsuit, partnered with him, and opened a new law firm. The name was simple, JY Law Firm. On opening day, the sun was perfect. I cut my 10-year-long hair, changed into a sharp professional suit. Looking at myself in the mirror with clear eyes and neat short hair, I suddenly felt the past decade was like a big dream. Now, the dream was over. Ethan leaned on the doorframe, still looking half asleep, but his eyes held genuine smile. "Boss Vivian with short hair has a bit of courtroom Yama King's aura." I rolled my eyes, "It's Queen." He laughed too. Our firm's first case was legal aid. A girl was long-term PUA'd by her boss, even induced to sign a joint liability for the company's huge debts. The girl was desperate, attempting suicide several times. Her family found us. Looking at her dim, lifeless eyes, I saw my former self. "Don't worry," I told her, "we'll get justice for you." At that moment, I finally understood that everything I experienced might not be meaningless. It let me see human ugliness and find what I truly want to do. Use my past stumbling experiences to help more girls like me. Let them know, when the abyss stares at you, you can choose to become a light stronger than the abyss. This might be the true meaning of my ordeal. Our firm gradually gained fame. Ethan and I, one handling logic and evidence, the other psychology and strategy, cooperated seamlessly. We took many cases, helped many in need. Each time in court, securing rights for the helpless, I felt unprecedented satisfaction. It was a more solid self-value realization than indulging in romance. I began enjoying my work and life. I had new friends, new circles. Julian's name hadn't appeared in my world for a long time. I thought our lives would never intersect again. Until that day, I received a call from an unknown number. On the other end was an aged, tired female voice. "Is this Miss Vivian?" "I'm Julian's mother." My heart thudded. "Auntie, hello." I tried to sound calm. "Vivian," Julian's mother's voice carried sobs, "Auntie begs you, come see Julian, he's not going to make it." When I rushed to the hospital, Julian was in the ER being resuscitated. The doctor said it was alcohol poisoning plus severe gastric bleeding. He was sent too late, the situation was critical. Julian's parents guarded outside, seeming to age 10 years overnight. Julian's mom saw me as a lifesaver, grabbing my hand, tears streaming. "Vivian, it's our fault, we didn't teach him well, making him do such bastard things. Curse him, resent him, anything. But he really loves you. In the past half year, not a day without chanting your name, regretting." I looked at the red light in the ER, mixed feelings in my heart. Love me? I don't know. Perhaps he did. But that love was too selfish, too cheap. Couldn't withstand temptation or test. In the end, only hurt remained. Julian was ultimately saved. Through the ICU glass, I watched him. Lying on the bed, tubes all over, the once spirited man now weak like a candle about to extinguish. I didn't know his reaction upon waking and seeing me. I didn't want to know. I left some money, then said to his parents, "Uncle, Auntie, this is a little token. After all, he was once my family. But I hope this is the last time I come here because of him." Julian's mom wanted to say more but was held back by his dad. That always silent man deeply bowed to me. "Vivian, thank you. And, sorry." I nodded, turned, and left. This time, truly, no looking back. I returned him to his parents. And returned myself to me. Life returned to normal. JY Law Firm grew in fame, we even started taking international cases. Ethan finally shed his decadent look, wearing tailored suits, hair neatly combed, though still habitually toying with the old lighter, but his eyes grew brighter. He said he wanted to be that industry rising star again, but this time, for himself. I was happy for him. My life became increasingly fulfilling and wonderful. I started fitness, learned flower arrangement, wine tasting. I visited many places I once wanted but had no time for, saw many beautiful sceneries. My world no longer revolved around one person but became vast. Occasionally, I'd think of Julian. I heard after discharge, he left Kyoto, returned to his hometown. No one knew where he went, no one cared. That once legendary name had completely vanished in time. And I, after winning another case for a client, received a bouquet of sunflowers from her. Golden discs always facing the sun. Just like me now. Ethan leaned at my office door, smiling. "Where for tonight's victory banquet?" I inserted the sunflowers into the vase, sunlight sprinkling on the petals and my face. I turned, smiled at him brightly and radiantly. "Let's have hot pot," I said, "the spiciest kind. To hell with the past. To hell with the scumbag. From now on, my life will be like this hot pot, hot, spicy, boiling, full of life and flavor."